Hello, this is Mr. Willis, and I am going to walk you through our online registration process with Infinite Campus, our new student information system. So the page that you are seeing in front of you is going to be able to be accessed either through the online registration link that will be appearing on our website. This link has also been emailed out to all of our parents that we have email contacts for, and we are also sending an information sheet via traditional mail that has the URL in order to access this on there as well. Once you arrive, you'll notice that there are some directions here that if you have a username and password, you can enter them here. For many of you, the first time, you're going to go down here and click on the New User button, and that will take you to this page you see here where it asks for an activation key. This activation key was in the email and the traditional mail that we sent out to all of you. It is a bit long, so if you can get it in the email, you can just copy paste it in there. If you're doing it from the traditional mail, you will have to type that whole thing in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and back to the login, but when you do enter that activation key, you can then set up your username and password. I have already done that, so I'm going to go ahead and get logged in. And once you log in, you will see that we've put some announcements here to kind of walk you through where to go for this registration process. So first of all, we are going to go to More. And then on the More page, we have a link right here for online registration. Now, when you click that, it has two options here, either a new student registration for the vast majority of you who are getting the email or the traditional mail because you have a returning student. You're going to do an existing student registration. And so you'll see here, I have not started that, but I have students in there ready to register. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Start. And then it's going to show my two students. You will notice I'm putting a number of boxes on here just to be careful with personal information. And I can then go ahead and check to see that all of my students are listed there and then begin my registration. Please note it does form a pop-up window, so if you have some sort of a pop-up blocker or something installed, you might want to double check that. A lot of times it makes a little icon up here in the top right corner if it is blocking your pop-ups. First thing you're going to do is type in your first and last name. This is your electronic signature that verifies the application that you are creating. And then a couple of opening information. Just make sure that you have some of this, your household information, parent information, like especially if you have medical stuff that you need to enter, emergency contacts. And if you have any questions through this whole process, I am the one to contact. So there is my email. You can also call the office during office hours. So I'm going to hit begin. And as we go in here, you'll notice that if you have a returning student, many of these demographic fields are already filled in. And so you just kind of have to double check them and click on Next. With your home address, it's going to list the current address that we have. If that is no longer where you are living, you can check this box and enter the date when you moved from that old address, and you can update the new address here. If you don't need to make any changes, you can just click on Next. There is then, if you have a separate mailing address, you can enter that here by unchecking that box. If you have a P.O. box or something like that, you can make sure that that information is there. For many of you, you're just going to kind of just do a quick check and keep continuing forward. Now, once you have gotten through that initial household information, we want to double check the parent guardians that are listed for your students. You may have a couple up here already if you have returning students, and you do need to verify. You'll notice right now there is not a completed mark under either of these, and so in both cases I need to hit edit to double check. It is going to ask that all parents enter in a birth date. The reason we do this is it is a form of verification when we have to, retrieve account information or something like that later. Next, go through. So things like, cell phone, work phone, you want to make sure that those are filled out. Another thing you'll notice over here is the contact preferences. Are there things that we can email you from Infinite Campus about? So we are at GCMS, we're still using ThrillShare. That will still be our general blast out information for snow days and things like that. But most of you should have attendance and general messages, which is how we were able to send you the message in order to get the login stuff. Food service, so we can send you things like notifications when your lunch balances are getting low and that kind of stuff. So you have the ability to check and uncheck these. Just know that if you uncheck them, you will not be getting emails that could affect your ability to get future emails for registrations and things like that. We will not email you a lot from this. And there's just a quick question here. Mark yes or no if you are a member, if this guardian is a member of the military. And then you do need to do the same just to double check everything for the other parent or guardian. So this is something, it is best if one member from the family does this whole process rather than both of you having to try and log in separately. Once you have verified both of the parent and guardians there, you do have the ability to add new parents or guardians if you need to using this button right here, and you'll go through those same fields we looked at. You'll just have to enter in the new information. If this looks good, you can save. Then we want to double check emergency contacts. You do need to have at least one emergency contact in this section, so I'm going to go ahead and add one here. Okay, you'll notice for emergency contacts, you don't have to enter as much information, just first name, last name, gender, and then you do need at least one phone number. It could be home, cell, whichever is the preferred contact for that person. On the next screen here, their address. You do not have to enter an address for an emergency contact. You can if you want. If this is someone that lives at the same address as you, you can go and check this box to say that person lives there. Otherwise, enter here or just leave it blank and continue. All right, once emergency contact is done, I could add additional ones with this button here, or if I'm good with that, I can go ahead and save and continue, go on to the next screen, and this is where we verify the information for each of our students. So I'm going to start with the top one, and you can click Edit Review or just anywhere on that student's name. Once again, a lot of the information is being pulled in, so you just need to double check things. There might be a few things you have to mark, like whether or not the student is a foreign exchange student. The race, ethnicity, you'll want to make sure that you mark that. Mark whether or not this is a homeless student. Language information, if English is the primary language spoken in the home. And then relationships. So you can mark the two guardians. Like in this case, they are both parents. If there is a different situation where it is a grandparent or a guardian, a foster parent, you can switch that there. Then you can also adjust the contact sequence. This means who should get called first in the event of an emergency, who should get called second in the event of emergency or any other just needed parent contacts. Other relationships, so the emergency contact that we listed earlier is going to appear here, and you do need to mark what kind of relationship you have with that person. Other is an option if this is not, a member of the family, perhaps it's a family friend or something like that, and choose where they are in the contact sequence. You'll notice that 1 and 2 have already disappeared because I selected those for the two parents, and so you won't accidentally have multiple people in the same contact sequence. It keeps track of that as you're going. Other household relationships, it will mark like if this person has siblings, other people living in the house, you can mark that they are siblings in the same household. Just the reason this happens, Infinite Campus, we try to group things into households. It kind of helps keep everything organized. One nice thing for this, for example, when you get to paying for lunch meals and things like that, you're actually going to be able to just you can have one family account where you just refill that one account and multiple students in your household can have their money draw from that. You're not having to refill, all these separate accounts. Next, with health services, you can enter your student's primary care provider. You can also then, if you have any medical or health conditions that need to come up. So if there's ones that we have in our system already, they will appear here, and you can mark whether or not this is a current condition or it's not a current condition. So something that maybe they had some sort of allergies when they were younger, but they aren't really dealing with them anymore. You can add additional conditions here if you need to. We do also have a link to our limited PE form. This isn't required for you to fill out, but If you have, as you can see here, if you have a student who needs to have limited PE because of injury or illness, you can fill this out. This is also available at any of our offices. It's available in the documents section of our website if an injury comes up during the year. But if it's one you need to get out right away, you can download that right now so you can fill it out and turn it into the office. Those are all good. You can also add any medications that you have. And if you have a record, an immunization record, you can click upload right there and upload that. So it's just going to be a traditional like file upload. So you can either, if you have scanned a PDF or if you have, even if you have like a picture, you've taken a high quality picture of it, you can upload record of immunizations there. Well, if your student is riding a bus, so if you check no, then there's nothing really to do here. You can just click next and go on. If you do click yes and you intend for your student to ride the bus, we do have some things we need you to fill out. If you have notes for the bus driver, what days, like will your student ride just an AM bus on certain days? Do they ride both buses? Do they not ride the bus on a particular day? So you want to make sure that you go through and fill all of those options out. We do have a special note, will your student be riding on the first day of school? Because we know that can be a little different. Sometimes the first day you like to take them in yourself, but then ride the bus after that. Our bus service, because it's a little separate from just our main offices, they use Remind in order to notify families. So if you want to get Remind messages from the bus service, make sure that you put either a phone number or an email in this box so that you can get those messages. And do note, if you have a pre-K or kindergarten student, there must be a person to pick up your student at the drop-off. So make sure that you fill in who is the pickup person for your student if they are in pre-K or kindergarten. Students in the other grade levels do not have to have a pickup person right at the moment when they're dropped off. All right, I'm going to go ahead because my particular student actually is not going to ride the bus. And move on to next. Athletics is similar. Most of the stuff isn't going to appear right away. One thing we do have appear right away is we have our parent and fan expectations. We do want everyone to make sure that you take a look at this, even if you don't have a student in athletics. If you intend to attend any of our athletic events, we do have some expectations we want to make clear so that we are exhibiting good sportsmanship and high expectations throughout. Note that you have read those. And then if you say that, yes, the student is going to participate in athletics, you'll see some other options appear below. So we have our insurance verification, verify that you do in fact have insurance where the student is covered, the option to purchase the school's accident policy. If you check yes on this, you're not going to be able to buy it right at this moment, but then the office can contact you with more information on how to purchase. Our medical release, in case your student is injured or something at a game and we need to get them immediate care, that authorizes the use for that. We do also have the form for our physical. So if you need to get your student's physical done, you can download that form. We do have copies of these. You can get them through the offices as well and get those filled out at your student's physical appointment. We also have a concussion information sheet that we do want to make sure that you read and acknowledge, because there is some important information in there. And we also ask that you upload a copy of your insurance card. Once again, you can take a copy of it, you can do a PDF scan of it, and then click right here in order to upload it. All right. And by the way, with some of those documents, we're hoping we can make it easy for you to submit them here. If you need to also stop by the office and get a copy, have them copy it, get a picture, you can do that, but make sure you get those documents in. Our release agreements. So we just need you to check yes or no on these. Like, are you okay with us using your student's picture on our website and social media outlets, that kind of stuff? Are you okay for your student to go on field trips? We have our technology acceptable use policy, which we are a one-to-one school district, so all students do need to abide by our acceptable use policy, and so you need to make sure you read through all of that. Do note, important thing I think I always want to point out here is if you have to get a screen repair or a replacement power adapter, or if you break or lose your Chromebook, there are replacement fees, repair fees for those. So make sure that you are aware of that. And then by checking this, you acknowledge the technology acceptable use policy. I'm going to go ahead and then save that. So all of my student stuff is saved. I have another student, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that one. And okay, once you have filled in all of your information for both students, you'll see that they both have a green check mark, and you can then either add a new student if you have an additional student from your family that is not yet in our system, or you can save and continue, where we move on to where it is basically completed. So on this page here, this is, you really want to make sure you have everything ready before you hit this red submit button. You can push the back button in order to jump back to the spot where you just were, or you can even just click on any of these titles up at the top if you need to double check, verify any of that information before moving forward. Okay. On this completed page here, you can also click this link right here in order to get a summary, so that you can just verify that all your information is looking good. Once you hit the submit button, it's going to ask you, are you sure you're ready to submit? Because you can't modify this after submitting. Now, what that means is if you submit it and it turns out there was something that you did by mistake or something that wasn't correct, contact the school office. We can unsubmit your application from there and allow you to make changes, or potentially, we can make the changes ourselves. But do make sure that you have everything ready before you actually hit that. When you hit the confirm button, it's going to just give you a confirmation message and one more link where you can download the PDF of all of the information that you have just entered. And that will complete. See right there, we have the link for the PDF, and that basically completes your online registration. At that point, this can be closed out, and you'll notice then if I go back to more and to online registration, it now says that online registration for those two students is complete. Okay, now that is kind of the end of part one. I'm now going to jump into fees, and so I will also make I'll divide this up into separate videos where one is just the registration, another one is fees. But if you want to just stay here and watch all of it in one long take, you can do that. So going over to fees, this is kind of the other next part of the registration process. You'll see that when you click on that, any fees that are assigned to your students are going to appear here. You can look at any of the fees that have been assigned to you, and you'll see I've already added one to my cart, or I can add the other one to my cart as well. And then for payment, you need to make sure that you have some accounts set up. So when you click on My Accounts, you can see we go to Payment Methods, and right now I haven't entered any yet, so I need to click the New button and create a payment method. You can do a checking account kind of directly with an e-check, or you can create a credit or debit card and enter the information for all of that, and then mark if you want this one to be the default payment that you are going to use. Once you have added a form of payment, you'll see that it will appear up there in the top. And so now I can go ahead and go back to my cart. And so you'll see I have the two fees in there. You can pay these together. You can pay them one at a time if you want. There is a service fee if you, depending on if you're using a card or if you are using an e-check. And you can enter an email address and submit your payment down at the bottom. All right, and then you'll have a receipt, and that is what you need to do in order to pay your fees and complete your registration. I'll be getting into some of these other buttons over here in the future. Do note when you first log in, that message center is going to point you where to go in order to get things started for registration. More stuff like some of the schedules and things like that are going to turn on as the registration process happens and we get all of that finalized, and there'll be more information coming out, more tutorial videos on how to use this new platform. We'll be using Infinite Campus for a whole lot of stuff this year. I'm excited to dig into it. Thank you for watching and have a great day.